I want to talk about just the places where you find all of the system managing pieces. Now, this isn't the place where you're going to get all the sexy, cool things about how to go and make everything work, but we need to find out where you go and do things that manage the system. And the first thing is just realizing what everything is on the page. And I feel like the first thing that people get in and they are scared to touch it, they don't want to click on anything. You're not going to break anything when you start clicking on them. But you do have your words and credits. And your words and credits are here because we allow you to have the freedom to use whatever tools you want whenever you want. We don't make you have a premium subscriptions to get access to our features. And it's a really big benefit to doing that. And when you run out, you don't have to go and upgrade your subscription. You can literally just hit the buy words and buy credits. And I'm glad to tell you that they finally have that fixed in the back office. It took them long enough, but it's fixed. And so as soon as you buy the words or credits, that will show up here. And when you click on the words and credits, what it's going to do is it's actually going to take you right into the store. So you'll go right to the store. You'll be able to buy your words and your credits down here. And when you add them to the cart and you pay for it, it's going to push you right back into your Rubi, and you'll see your words and credits here. Now, it may take up to a minute for that to show up. Sometimes it's quick. It's done in a batch. So it'll be there just within a minute or so, and you're set to go. Now, the light mode, dark mode, that's really just about a preference for the way you see it. I like it to see it in the dark mode. I've heard people tell me it's easier to see it, though, on our presentations in the light mode. And so I will leave it in the light mode today for you guys. Now, we have our places up here at the top. Now, the very first drop down is we allow you to have multiple subscriptions into the same master account. So I have my master account here, but I have two subscriptions here. You can see that I have Robert_prod, and then I have Robert_prod 2. So these are my subscriptions. Now, after that with the dash are my workspaces. And I can have up to 10 different workspaces depending on which application or what subscription you're in. But that's how it's delineated inside of this dropdown. It lets you know which subscription you're working in and which workspace. So I want to work in Prod 2, C2C Digital, and then I can see the projects that are going to be attached to this. So if I come up here and I flip it over to my other production, I can see now that I have different projects that are going in this subscription and into this workspace. So this is how this functions, and you'll be able to come back and forth between all of these whenever you want. Now, why would you want multiple subscriptions? Well, the really only reason that you would need multiple subscriptions is if you have a lot of people who are tying into it. Probably an agency that has more than 10 clients. They're going to probably have multiple subscriptions because we max out at 10 collaborators. And so that's one of the main reasons that you would have maybe multiple subscriptions sitting inside of there. And again, your projects, the projects help you organize all of your assets and keeps them organized for you so that when you're going from one place to another, all of your assets will be there, but you're not seeing things that you don't want. And that's why it's a great organization tool for you as you're starting to go and build stuff out. So these are the key things at the top. Now, there's a lot of things in the manage accounts, which is down under your profile. So if you click on profile, you'll see manage accounts is down here. Manage accounts allow us to do a lot of things as well. Number one, it lets you create a nickname for your subscription. Now, if you have multiple subscriptions, it's really important to do that, right? You don't want them both to be the same thing. So you can come in and give them a nickname, and I can change it if I want to. But if I had them both the same, it would be really confusing up here. So you want to give them a nickname. Preferred language. Now, this is super important because over the next few months, you'll start seeing us roll out full versions of Ruby in different languages. So completely multilingual. So when you get in, you're going to be able to go in and change your preferred language. And when you log in, it will automatically be in that language. So if you're wanting it to be in Greek, you set your preferred language to Greek, and when you log in, the entire application will function in Greek. And so that's why this preferred language is there. Now, when you also have multiple subscriptions, you'll have one that says make a primary account. You can only have one primary account. So if I go down over here to this one, you can see that it's already a primary account. So I'm going to leave it that way for now, but you can choose between which one is primary. And what does that mean? That means that when I log in, that's the one that's going to be loaded up first. That's my primary one to use. So that takes care of the general info. You can obviously put in a new photo or whatever you want up here for your avatar. Now, let's go to usage for a second, because this is really, really important. And I'm going to flip this over here because I can get it to one that I've been using it in. This is a great way for us to see how much you've been using, where you've been using it, all that good stuff. And you can flip it down by months. So if I'm looking maybe in July, what did I have my usage in July? You can see I used it a lot. And so I can come through here, though, and I can see a lot of information about how I'm using this product. If I hover over these charts, it'll tell me, okay, these are image generations. This is personas. I made 4 of those. Voice generations, vocal music generations, 10, spy audits. I've got instrumental music generation, voice labs, video generation. So you can go through and look at all the things that you're doing and all the credits that were used. Now you can also break it down by workspaces if you choose. So if I wanted to look at just the fixed workspace, well, I guess I didn't really do anything with it. So in July, that probably would have been in August, right? Yeah, so in August, you can see when we were doing the fix, these are my usages that I had. I didn't use any credits. I was using it all based over here in my words. And you can see what I used by using modules. So this is how many words I used with modules inside of IntelliChat. My total IntelliChat use is 5,896. That's by using all the different models. And then I also have my total that I've used, period. Now, if I get this back to my all workspaces, one thing you'll see over here is all these different colors over here as well. And you can see I used a lot. 309,000 words is what I used in August so far. And you can see they're spiking, where I'm using it heavy. My module use was 9,400. You see I've used 106 credits. And again, I hover over all these and see what it is I'm creating. IntelliChat, 300,000. But what's really great is you can start to see how much you're using of each of the different models. So I've got GPT-4 Omni. I've got Anthropic, which you see I use it a lot. You're seeing that I'm using Gemini Pro a lot. And then you can kind of see command is in here where I'm doing my rank. So lots of different things that you can kind of see where and how you're going about using it. That's all great for you just to get intel of how you're using the application. Now, if you scroll down a little bit, though, this is where you see every transaction that happens inside of your subscription. It's just a ledger and a journal that tells you every time that you use something. And you can look at it through all usage. You can look at it through just credits. And this will show you all the different credits that you've used. You can actually just click on these and bring them up from the earliest to the latest. And then you also will see that they'll show up in green. Those are the ones that you've purchased. Okay, so those will come with your subscriptions. That will come with anytime that you're adding words or credits, they'll show up in here as well. And you'll be able to see everything. If you want to look at just your words. So we initially started with 500,000 words. And now I can go through and see every time I use something. So this was with chat. This was with the module response. And every one of them is available for you to go back in and look at it. So if you ever want to know where your words and credits are going and how you're using them, you can definitely find that by coming in to the usage underneath your manage accounts. Corey, I'm not looking at the chat. Is there any questions that are happening in there so far? So far, so good?
Yeah, so far, so good. I think a lot of people have stumbled into this feature, but they're picking up some nice little pieces that they did not know about.
Yeah, and I think it's important. You can also export this out. So, like, if you're trying to track it later or whatever, or if you're having collaborators come in or you're using it for clients and you're kind of wanting them to kind of see what's been done, you can actually export these out as well and get your hands on them. So it's a great way to look at stuff. Your workspaces, this is another way of segregating your content, but also a way of segregating the people who work there. So collaborators, which we'll talk about here in just a second, they are attached to workspaces that you're granting them access to work in. And so when you're thinking through the process of like how you're structuring your subscription, you have the subscription, you have your workspaces, you have your projects, and you can start to make sure all of your content is segregated that way. So you might have a client that is doing a workspace, and then they have projects inside of that client. So that's kind of the way that it's designed, so that you can tier it the way you use it and organize your world however you're putting Ruby into your world. The workspaces have a limit. So it's if you're on basic, you only have one. That's the one you're working in. Pro, you have 3, Premium, you have 5, and at Premium Plus, you'll have 10. And so those are the different workspaces that you can have, and you can kind of separate through. Now, to add the workspace, it's super easy. Like, it's not difficult. You do see that there's a new upload image. This is, again, just another way to help us identify something quicker. In future versions, we will see that workspaces will actually have a way for you to quickly look at an image and help you understand what's there. So maybe a logo for a client, something like that, that just makes it a little easier to identify. So we have added that here. Of course, you're just going to do a name and a short description. That's it to create a new workspace. And so nothing difficult in that aspect of it. Now, all of our little views that we have here, if you see this little 3 dots, these are your actions, and this is what lets you do the different things to whatever it is that you're looking at. So in a workspace, you can deactivate it. You can always go back and edit it, and of course, you can delete it. So the difference between deactivate and delete. Well, you may want this workspace to be there later, and you might want to reference it, with other stuff later, and so you just want to deactivate it. When you deactivate that, that's not going to count against your other workspaces. Okay, so if I have my limit, I say I had 3 was my limit, and I go and add another one, and then I want to add another one, I'm going to have to either delete one or deactivate one so I can add another. So you're never going to have more than 3 active ones at the same time. Now, you can go and play the game of, okay, well, I'll just deactivate this one, and I'll go and make this one, and I'll do this one. If you want to put up with the headache of doing that, knock yourself out. That's on you. For me, it's just easier to go in and get the next version that gives me a little bit more. But I don't really care that we designed it this way, because I understand when you're working, especially as like an agency or with someone that's maybe it's an entrepreneur and you have a lot of different products that you're trying to break down, or you're doing different campaigns, and you've created a campaign that you might run again seasonally. Like, I might have a campaign that I do just for the Christmas season. I might make a workspace for that so I can create my projects around that, but I don't use it that much. So as soon as the Christmas is over, I might deactivate that workspace and open up another workspace to do something maybe for spring. And so this is the reason why I created it this way, so that you guys have flexibility. And you just kind of understand that if someone wants to abuse it, abuse it. I really don't care. I think it's just more abuse on you than it is on me. Okay, so that's workspaces. Very easy to do. Let's talk about collaborators. Now, Corey, we had a really big upgrade when it comes to collaborators on this last deployment that we pushed out. And it really makes it a viable play when you're letting other people come into your subscription. And I think that there were some things in the early first version that, you could bring them in, You could limit them to a workspace, but you were stuck. That was as much as you could do. You know, if you brought a collaborator in and they used all your words and credits, well, that was just on you. And so we were looking at all of that. And so when we brought in the ability to add a new collaborator, you see that there's a whole lot more here. And because we give you feature control, and we also give you the workspace control. And then if you really want to get down to it, you can actually give them a maximum words and a maximum credit limit. So if you're saying, hey, I want you to come in and you can use IntelliChat and the modules and Personify. Those are the things I want you to be able to use. And so I'm going to give you a max words of 10,000 words, and I'm only going to let you have 20 credits. You shouldn't need more than that. So I can go ahead and put those in there. And if this is checked, that's what they're going to have. Once those are exhausted, they're going to have to ask you to come back and edit and give them more. Okay, so this is a way that you can control your collaborators inside of your subscription. Now, I said I wanted to give them just IntelliChat, modules, and Personify. Again, we have these three little buttons over here, and they're in action. And so you'll see 4 different options for them that they can do here. So they can read only. This means that they can view it. They can't do anything else. They can only see it. They can't change it. Okay, they can't delete something. They can't edit something. They can only view it. And if you want them to be able to only view something, then you just do read only. If you want to give them the ability to edit something, to read it and to write something, to create something, then you'll be able to give them read and write. Now, what read and write doesn't do is give them the ability to delete things, right? And so they can't move things around. They can't change from project to project. They can only read and write. They can create and they can view. If you want them to have full access to do anything and everything, then you just give them full access. And if you don't want them there at all, you'll put blocked. And they won't even be able to get into that section of your subscription. So if you have somebody that's great, you know, I want them to have full access on these, I can come through and set it to where, okay, they're there, but I don't want to give them access to this other stuff. I'm just going to put these to blocked, and this will protect me from really having anything that I don't want them to see. And maybe on prompts, I actually want them to have the ability to read and to read only the prompt. And I can use that, right? Because it's not changing. So I can read a prompt and I can use the prompt, but I'm not going to be able to change the prompt. And so I might give them that one. This is why this is so important for us to do, because for agencies and people that you're inviting in, you want to have control of where you're giving them access. And we have done that here. And then you'll just send the invite and they will accept the invite. It's an email that is being sent to them, and they will click the invite. It has a link. They'll take them right to their page to fill out the information that they need, and they will then log in, and they will actually be seeing whatever words and credits that you have allowed them to see up here, and whatever workspaces you've allowed them to see will also show up for them. And they can play in that. They can play in the projects and do whatever that you've allowed them to do from that point forward. So that's the collaborators, and I think this is a great way for people to understand how things work. It's a really good feature when you are doing agencies or multiple businesses or just collaborations, you know, where you can have somebody. I'll give you a good example. Like for us, is if I have a developer that I can have come in and we're using IntelliChat to code some stuff, we can do that together. I can see it. We can see it. We can discuss it. And we have that ability to really view everything the way that we want to, and we can agree and move it on down the road, right? So collaborations are just a really good way of doing that. All right, let's talk about connections, because connections are not there for you right now.